Welcome, everyone, to episode number 2 of the Retro Chat podcast. My name is Andy Evans. Thank you for joining me on a really wet, mucky, horrible day here in Weymouth, Dorset. Joining me in the moment is going to be my guest at this time. Casually
Oh,
just
sorry.
sat
Oh,
there,
sorry. I didn't. I wasn't expecting that. I'm so sorry.
just casually sat there reading a Master of the Universe
Yeah.
book. Uh, if we thought on our last episode we had a super fan of Red Dwarf in Shane Paul, this gentleman really takes the money for being a retro fan and a retro collector. And it's a pleasure to have him on because he is one of my longest friends that I've known for over 13 years.
Yeah. I think around 2008. I want to say.
Yeah. It was back in the TSC days, wasn't it?
Ministry of Stam was wherever I first
Ministry, back in the ministry
encountered
days. So
you. Yeah.
yeah, they're fine. They're fine. 2009 Ministry of Slam days. It's Chris Vint. Chris, welcome to the show. How are you
Thank
doing?
you. I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me on. And people may not know this, but obviously Andy has put his finger in many pies of podcasting. But Andy was kind of the inspiration behind me becoming a podcaster. Was that he kind of gave me the oomph and the kind of the um, guidance to then start podcasting, and then that's where Masters of Universe Chronicles. So in a way, Andy, I have to thank you for inviting me on the show. But in a way, I wouldn't have done as many podcasts without you kind of give me the positivity that you did. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I didn't do anything. I just gave you a couple of bits of advice. You went on and did it yourself. And you talk about the podcast that you've done. I mean, your list is extensive.
Yeah,
Master
just
of
a
the
little
Universe
bit.
Chronicles. Yeah, Master of the Universe Chronicles, which I listened to, I thought was fantastic. Where you delved into the episodes and the fandom of MOTU. You had some of the biggest names on there, like Pixel Dan and some of the other guys. You then launched Operation Retro Shock,
Yep.
which was basically this show but with a different name.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. We'll just
Kind of.
say we'll just say it was a kind of you're the stepchild of Operation Retroshock, and we'll just put it in
Yeah,
that term.
yeah. It got to the point where when I was creating this, I actually approached Chris and went, "Do you have the music?" Because the music was legendary for Operation Retro Shock, but unfortunately, you don't. So we couldn't use it, but it was absolutely legendary. And since then, what other shows have you done? Because you've done a whole menu of podcasts.
Yeah, I did. After that, I did What the Shell, which was the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles podcast. I did Wrestle Shock, which kind of was just to do with wrestling, look back at years in wrestling. Oh gosh, after that, then I did just a couple of YouTube stuff. So I did a kind of my Vintomania channel, which kind of I wasn't getting much traction with. So I thought I'll start afresh and just do stuff just to do with retro items. So yeah, so obviously I've talked about things such as Super Mario. I've done 3 videos just to do He-Man Master Universe, whether it's to do with me podcasting and talking with the likes of Larry DiTilio, who wrote 4 of the 5 episodes, which I've just got to stop doing that. Four of the five, yeah, 4 of the 5 episodes of the basically what made up Secret of the Sword. The likes of Dean Stefan, who is the head writer, sadly no longer with us, of the 2002 Mike Young production show, which I absolutely adored. And he probably is my favorite interview that I did while doing Chronicles.
Are the archives of Chronicles still available, or are they still out there for people to listen to?
There's the main people that I talk to would be on the Operation Retro Shock feed. So if you were to go on Operation Retro Shock, it's still available on iTunes and stuff. Sadly, I don't have a lot of the episodes because the hard drive that I had it on died, and I've lost quite a lot of them. I'm pretty sure that there's people out there that have listened to it that still maybe have them on their hard drives or whatever, and I'll get them that way. So I know I'll get them back at some stage anyway.
Well, I'm going to put an appeal out there. If anybody is listening who has any of the archive episodes of MOTU Chronicles, please contact myself or Chris, because I think he'd want them back, and I really want to get them up on our feed. If Chris is happy with that, to further
Yeah,
promote what he does and what he's done, because they were great shows. And to interview the guys like you talked about, Dean Stefan, of course, Larry Tatilio, that's huge names. I mean, I've
hmm
interviewed some of the biggest names in professional wrestling. You've interviewed some of the biggest names in animation. I mean, that is just uh,
I've been
a great
I've
thrill,
been
isn't it?
very I've been very fortunate, with the likes of Operation Retro Shock, doing the likes of Larry Kenny, Townsend Coleman, Alison Court, who was the voice of Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2, Shane Rimmer from Thunderbirds, to name but a few. But some of the people on Chronicles I had, like Jack Olesker, who had a lot of stuff to do with the New Adventures stuff, and just people like that. Scott Knight, who was the head of the brand manager at Mattel, who was the reason why we had the likes of the Master Universe classic figures and stuff. So I've been very fortunate, and there's been people like the likes of James Eatock, who really helped me get a lot of names, and one of the guys. James Sawyer helped me actually get Roger Sweet, who was the creator. If you watch the Toys That Made Us, you'll know who I'm talking about. That he said that he created He-Man, and I had him on, and I think I was maybe the first person to actually interview him for a podcast. I'm not sure on that,
Wow.
but yeah, that was a big coup for me.
Yeah, massive coup. And if you've watched that Toys That Made Us on Netflix, he's got a massive chip on his shoulder, thinking he was the one who first created He-Man as well. That must have been a fascinating
Yep,
interview.
Boeing.
Yeah, yeah, but mic drop. That must have been a fascinating interview to have conducted.
Yeah, because he's an
Yeah.
elderly gentleman trying to then, there's a lot of gaps, so trying to edit that together, that was probably the show that took me the most to edit. I didn't mind doing it because I just had big gaps between, like answers and stuff, so I just kind of had to try and make it more concise and stuff.
That makes it easier when you're editing and you've got big gaps. That makes it
Yep.
easier. It's when you've got the tongue ties or you're trying to get the ums and the ahs out.
Yep.
That's but at least we're now with YouTube. We're on screen. We're looking at it.
Yeah, there's
All
there's
right.
no kind of, like, you kind of have to watch your tongue, because it's like, it's almost like Big Brother, please do not swear, and that's just like,
Oh,
I'm
I,
I'm normally
I
quite
love
good
the
at it.
fact when I upload it now. It's like, is this video made for kids? Yes or no? No. Just click no. It's easier.
It's easier.
No.
Yep. Yep.
Haven't got to worry about it. I mean, now like you said you're doing videos. We will get onto our episode in a minute, but you're doing videos now. You're doing Vinto's Vaults at the
Yep.
moment, which is I love watching them because they're really short bites, but you can just see how passionate you are about what you do when your collection and you're collecting, and you can see now just some of the MOTU stuff that you've got in your collection. You sent me a quick 30
hmm
second video the other day of the DVD collection that you have. And I think my response was a drop jaw
Yep.
because it was
And it's
just
like, where do you put
huge.
it all?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where you put. I struggle just to put. I've got a hard drive full of stuff, but what is it about retro stuff that's really kind of got you hooked?
Hmm. I had a great childhood, and I think the fact of the likes of Masters of the Universe, Turtles, Thundercats, Nightmare, for example, just bring back so many memories, and you just like go back to them. You just enjoy watching them, and there's like photos of me and my sister, and there's one that the TV has like an episode on it. And put it this way, I contacted James Eatock, and he was able to tell me that day that transmitted onto ITV. That's how much of a filmation aficionado that James Eatock is. And he was able to tell me, and I
Wow.
was like, wow, that is just stunning. So to the day, I pretty much had when that aired. But yeah, I just love retro stuff. A lot of people love collecting movies and things, but this has always been something that I've enjoyed doing, whether it be retro TV, um, somewhere movies, but more TV, animation especially. Just going through and adding so many things to my Amazon wish list and what have you. But it's just fun to watch so many things from back in the childhood, and thinking one of the things that I'm probably going to start doing is I have a lot of stuff that I've never ever seen before, the likes of, say, Spider-Man Ultimate Unlimited. Sorry, I may watch the first episode of that and then give my take on that, and then see what I think of it. So I have
That's going
plenty
to be
of things
perfect.
here that I may not have seen before, and then just give them that. But yeah, yeah, retro seems to be an in thing now. Whenever you see like Pretty Woman was 30 years old, the movie, and you're like, oh my God, it's so old.
Yeah.
He-Man is now
Thanks.
40 years old, and you're like, oh, why? But yeah, it just really encapsulates my childhood, and like as the doctor once said, what's the point of being a grown up if you can't act childish sometimes?
Hey, if you can't be Peter Pan syndrome at some point in your life, when can you be? I mean,
Exactly.
it's very chic, but I hate it when we talk about old stuff. No, when we talk about Transformers and He-Man, like 81, 84, I'm 40 this year, and it kind of brings home exactly how old I am.
Well,
When
I'm
you see that type of
slightly a
thing.
little bit older than you because I'm
Yeah.
43.
Oh, I thought you were 53.
All right. Okay. Well, good luck with this by yourself, though.
Sorry, can you just excuse me for a minute? Is that all right? The
Yeah,
door's going.
sure.
Can you just bear with me
No
for a minute?
worries. No problems.
Oh, I thought you were knocking too. Bye-bye. No. There you go. Click. I'll see you in a minute. I don't know how I'm going to edit that out. There we go. That was live. That was my daughter
I
coming
could
back
hear.
to. Pardon?
I could hear. I thought because I said I
Yeah.
was 53, I thought I offended. Whenever you said I was
No,
53, I
I
thought you
just had
offended
to
me and
run.
just walked off.
I just had to run away. That was it. I couldn't take any more of it. No, that's my 2-year-old coming back in from her grandparents for a
Oh,
nap.
fun.
So yeah, it's all good. Anyway, that's what you get on this show. It's live on YouTube. That'll be edited out of the podcast. It won't be edited out of YouTube. There we go. Um, it's just fantastic. Right, before we get going, Chris, let's talk very quickly contact details for my guys. So if you would like to get in contact with us here on the show, you can do. You can visit retrochat.co.uk. You can go on social media, and all of this follows a very similar format. You might guess what it is. It's Retro Chat Podcast. That's on Facebook, Insta. You can join the Discord channel, which is brand new and actually doesn't have anything on it yet, but it's coming. You can join us on Twitch, Retro Chat Podcast, where we're doing live streaming of both retro and current video games, and you can see exactly how bad I am. And we've also got the email address. So you can email me studio@retrochat.co.uk if you would like to nominate any programs you want us to cover, any animation cartoons, any guests that you would like us to come on, or if you're James Etalk, please respond back to my email that I sent to you the other week. That would be fantastic. Apart from that, shall we do it? Shall we talk about what we're here to talk about today?
We shall, yes.
Okay. Now, back in the 1980s, it's fair to say that there was an animation property, which you all know we're here to talk about, called He-Man, which really took the world by storm. And I want to ask you, Chris, what is it about He-Man that's kind of resonated with fans 30 odd years later?
I think a big thing for it is the action figures, obviously, with a lot of them having a unique action feature, sorry, whether it be the likes of Battle Armor He-Man with the dent in his chest, whether it be Manny faces and turn around his head, likes of Mosquito where you pump out blood, Dragon Blaster Skeletor where you sprayed and things like that. I think that was a big part of it. Obviously, it grew to like $1 billion franchise, and then kind of just started going downhill, started being
Yeah.
like bargain bins, etc. But I think because of the animation as well, obviously, like we'll touch on, like back in the day, whenever this was first pitched, that they were people were saying you shouldn't have a violent cartoon, but it wasn't violent. He-Man wouldn't punch somebody in the face; he would like throw them into, like a puddle of mud or whatever. But it would never be violence, and you would always have the moral at the end of it. Because I think Hal Sutherland was the one that they would kind of consult to do with the morals at the end. So I think all in all, whenever you have a secret identity, look at Superman and how good that is. Look at Arrow and how good that was. Fair enough. With the first season, where pretty much everyone knew who he was. Spider-Man has been Spider-Man because he keeps the secret identity, and it's the same with this. And with having new properties with the likes of this, the 2002 show, and then the upcoming Revelations with Kevin Smith, which I know we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, it's just been something that the animation is so bright, it's so vibrant, it's so well done, and yeah, it's just one of those things that to this day, if you were to put it on, it still holds up well. I would love it on Blu-ray.
You'd love it on what, sorry?
Blu-ray. I think on Blu-ray would be
Oh, that'd be
fantastic.
amazing, wouldn't it? That'd be just, and get it digitally remastered so you could just see the colors and everything else. I
Yep.
mean,
Mhm.
one other thing that we got to bear in mind as well that Filmation did this series. Now, Filmation are known for the Groovy Ghoulies. They did the Star Trek animated series. They did Fundar the Barbarian, to name just a few. And it was Lou Scheimer and Erica Shima who really kind of led the path for Filmation back in the 80s. And really, He-Man is a lot of stock animated footage reused on a continuous basis.
Yep.
If you look at the episodes, I mean, there's only so many times you can do a transformation scene pretty much in the same place every episode. You know,
Yep. Mhm.
doing the power sword. But there was just something about He-Man that resonated with me as a kid. Now, whether or not that was because, obviously I'm a boy at that time and it's power swords and it's sword fighting and you've got Skeletor and you've got Beastman and Merman and Modulok and Hordak from She-Ra, or what it was, but it's just kind of there and it's always been in the back of my mind. You mentioned the spin-offs, and before we talk on this, let's talk about the 8990 New Adventures of He-Man series that came out by Mattel, um, and then obviously the 2002 reboot. The New Adventures, where does that sit in terms of fan appreciation? Where is it? Because I remember it always being negative reaction.
It's one of those things that it's one of those things that as time goes on, it's more appreciated because you basically only have a couple of properties to do with He-Man. You don't have, like the wealth of like a Spider-Man does or
Yeah,
Turtles does. So with this, you have three things. Now, fair enough, it's not the best because you have He-Man, you have Skeletor, and I think you have one appearance from Tila, but basically all the characters aren't there. You have these scientist dudes, which I think a lot of people were kind of a bit about, but I think whenever they brought out the figures in the classics range, they were very, very popular. And I think that's whenever it started getting more notoriety and it started being more popular. Like I have the two sets of them, but I've never watched them from episode one to the last episode, like I have with He-Man multiple times or She-Ra multiple times. It's just one of those things that unfortunately it's like the Attack of the Clones of Star Wars. It's there, but it's probably not the most well loved of the rest compared to the rest of them.
yeah. I mean, it's the animation was completely different, wasn't it? I mean, it's more of a
Yep.
Japanese anime style delivery of He-Man, and I think for me they changed the characters far too much. I mean, they made He-Man wearing the blue pants, which made no sense, and he also seemed to have lost a lot of weight and got taller, and a lot of body mass. And then Skeletor was just a comedian. I mean, that
Yeah,
was
Skeletor just looked a lot different. It's almost like you having a really menacing villain, and then you're just turning them into a comedy act instead of
yeah,
making them as villainous. It's like having the Joker and taking away his streak of horrific things he's done and just
yeah,
making him like a panto villain, really, which is something that
yeah.
they should not do.
And they shouldn't have done that. You can see why it only lasted a season. It was still 65 episodes, but it lasted a season. And then you saw nothing then until the 2000s, the early 2000s, with the reboot series, which was as close to the original series as we got ever, I think, as a continuation or as a reboot. And the animation on that was fantastic. Again, more modern, kind of following the Thundercats in terms of that modernization of the animation.
Yeah.
Um, but for some reason, it only lasted a couple of seasons, which is a shame because it had a lot of legs, in my view, to go on for a lot longer than
Yeah, whenever I talked
that.
to Dean Stefan, I actually asked him, what were the plans for season three, and I think there was something to do with Randor or whatever, and Hordak. I was going to be a more part of it. Obviously, I do have like the episode 40. I think it was only 29 or 39 episodes. But episode 40 was published as like a comic. I adored this series. In fact, this series almost just about pips the Filmation series. That's how much I love this series because
Wow.
I love the fact that each near enough every character has an origin story. with the likes of Roboto, you find out why he was made, and then him being part of the team. With the likes of Cyclone, you find out about him. And Cyclone's always been one of my favorite characters, as is Manny Faces. And The Monster Within was actually written by Larry DiTillio, who then obviously wrote this, and this is some of the He-Man stuff way back when. But just the music in it, I would love that music on vinyl. And again, this is just something that's screaming out for like a, because I think that's so I think that's like 20 years old thereabouts
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that I really enjoy watching. I remember the first time watching it was buying a VCD of it way before you could get it,
Wow.
and actually watching that before it aired in the likes of Toonami and what have you. But I think it's one of those ones that was the schedule of it kept messing around, and then the viewership dropped, and I think that's probably why
Yeah.
it kind of stopped broadcasting, sadly, because I would have loved that to go on.
Yeah, which is such a shame because now, obviously, we're I think it was 2002 the series came out originally, so it's 20 years next year. But that links us on to July 26th because July 26th is going to be a big day globally because Netflix is going to drop part one, 5 episodes of Masters Revelation. And that's by Kevin Smith, who, of course, is known as the legendary comic book fan, podcaster, actor, movie star, you name it, what else. And looking at the picture of this, we've seen no footage. We don't know anything about it in terms of the story or what the animation is like. But looking at the footage, looking at the pictures that they've released, my God, is everybody jumping up and down with joy about this?
Yeah, because Kevin Smith, who I have been thankful now because I met him at one of the London Film Comic Cons a couple of years ago. So I'm even more delighted that I got to meet him. But sadly, I wasn't able to get him around something He-Man because he wasn't into it then. But yeah, this is obviously a continuation of the Filmation one. You know, like there's going to be parts in there to do with it. The animation looks great. I cannot wait to hear Mark Hamill's Skeletor laugh because he
Oh
did
no.
Joker so well. The voice cast, it looks tremendous. I remember seeing the video on Twitter of Kevin Smith listening to the transformation sequence music and tearing up at it. And if that happens to him, Lord knows what it's going to do with us fanboys. I know that people were up in arms about the Shira one and how very different it was to the Shira that we're going to talk about eventually. But obviously that was garnered for children, whereas this is more garnered for the people like ourselves who grew up watching this, and you know, this is like our love letter of Master Universe. The animation just looks superb, and I can look generally looking at it, I can't really fault anything from having Alan Oppenheimer, who voiced Skeletor way back when, to voice Mossman is inspired,
I know.
as is Jason Mewes as Stinkor. That is just inspired casting.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, other cast members we know, Sarah Michelle Gellar is playing Tila, and Kevin Conroy, known as Batman in the animated series, is playing Randall. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
is just you couldn't ask, I don't think, for a better voice cast.
No.
And what's going to be
Me.
funny is seeing scenes where you know are going to happen between Randall and Skeletor,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing Kevin Conroy, and Mark Hamill back on screen together in different incarnations, but still good versus evil, if you know what I mean. Batman
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
Joker,
Yeah.
Randall, Skeletor. It's going to be legendary. It's July 26th on Netflix, the first 5 episodes of part one. And then there's no release date for part two. But what we also know is Netflix are developing their own He-Man series,
Yeah.
which will be coming on to Netflix at a later date. So all of a sudden, the universe is back together again with more content than you could ever imagine.
And that's great, you know, that we're actually getting stuff. You know, I've no idea what this other one that Netflix are doing is going to be like. Having this Revelation one is going to be the one I think that all of us watch, and the other one will be, oh, that's good, but it's nowhere near as good as this. You
No,
know,
no.
it's like whenever A Bug's Life and Ants come out, they're kind of the same film, but A Bug's Life was slightly better than Ants, and that's going to be the same with it way with this.
Yeah. I mean, there's also talk about the He-Man movie. Um,
Until I see a trailer for that movie, it will never happen. Whenever the main character, the guy who was going to play He-Man, pulls out, then you know it's like that was meant to come out in December 2019. lower. It'll probably be out December 2029. In
To
fact,
be honest, I think it's going to.
I'll probably be down 6 feet under before it even comes out.
I was about to say it'll be the time that film releases, at the time we'll get the Thundercats movie, which has also been
Yeah.
talked about since 1990 something.
So it's a Knight Rider movie for so many years. It's just like,
Hey,
okay, and
that's going to
another 18
happen.
movie. Yeah, okay.
I'm not really fussed about the 18 movie. That wasn't that good. But
Yeah,
the Knight Rider movie, is it me, or do I really want to see David Hasselhoff on a Zimmer frame going after Kit?
no, you
No.
don't. No.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Okay,
Don't know why.
He could team up with Supergram, and you could have a duo there.
God, right. It's time we moved on to the topic and we're going to hear about today. So we can talk, right? We can talk. Right. So this is what we're going to talk about. Secret of the Sword, the motion picture release that was also the first 5 episodes of the She-Ra TV series. And there it is. Chris has got it up on his screen right there. This really was an iconic masterpiece of animation because it was a great way of introducing a new character in Aurora and She-Ra. You
Adora.
met Adora. That's what I said. I Aurora. That's what it was.
Okay.
I
Aurora isn't that Sleeping Beauty? Aurora. Okay.
I
That's
have a
reading your
2-year-old.
daughter too many bedtime stories. That's
Yeah,
what that
that's
is.
it. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for that, mate.
No worries.
Adora, Etheria, you had Hordak, Shadow Weaver, all of these new characters, which Mattel were just going to go, yay, because there's going to be more money on the bottom line because it's coming out. But putting the 5 episodes together in a feature-length movie at the height of He-Man's popularity was a no-brainer.
Yeah, because I think Mattel had researched that a lot of girls were watching He-Man, so they thought, "Ooh, let's just make sure that we give something for the girls, and we do this." With the likes of my interview with Larry Tilio, he said that I can't remember the name that he said that he was going to do for Shira, but then like he and then Shira, so I think Ra means powerful or something like that. I'll give Andy the link, and then the link will be in the description below in case you want to hear that Larry DeSillo interview.
Please do.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and he was just saying about that there, and just the fact that, like we said, it was a no-brainer. Obviously, we had figures coming out that were Horde figures in the Master of the Universe line, but then the Princess Power line only had one male figure, which was Bo. So you kind of had to buy both sets if you wanted to have all the figures.
Yeah, less so about Bo the better. Bo was the weakest character of the lot, I think. Not a big fan of Bo.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I suppose whenever you look at it, you didn't really have like the likes of say a Seahawk figure, who obviously becomes prevalent more on. But yeah, I think Bo was just one of those ones that you're like, oh, here. Like obviously we see Bo in the Christmas special as well singing, and I think that was probably why Andy doesn't like him.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're watching it on screen at the moment. You can see some of the trailers. This is from the Filmation preview trailer. If you're watching this listening to this on podcast, it's why you need to watch the YouTube stream as well. Really, if you think about it, it was quite violent back in the time. For a cartoon series, it had a lot more violence in it than a normal episode.
Yeah, because you start off with Adam being in the like a pub thing, and then the Horde troopers come in, and him and Bo kind of dealing with them, and then going to Whispering Woods. So yeah, there was a lot of things there, like obviously with the likes of He-Man then beating 7 shades of stuff out of his thunder beam thing, and then just punching that and what have you. But I always love that scene that you just saw where Ashira throws a sword to He-Man, and he catches it and kind of whispers by the power of Grayskull, because that was something that you did whenever you were a cartoon character and you needed to go on but couldn't. The amount of times the amount of times that Lano did that. Oh my lord.
This was just incredible. I mean, just looking at the trailer now. I mean, we're watching it together. The story was amazing. Seeing John Irwin as He-Man portraying it. Erica Shima was obviously in the cast. as well. What was it about She-Ra? Because there was something about She-Ra that every young boy fancied, and it was a
Well,
cartoon character.
it's the
It
skirt.
was. It doesn't
It's
take much.
why were men attracted to Jessica Rabbit? I'll just leave that there. But yeah, it's just basically, I think, as well as Adora, like she had that hourglass figure. Some people may have liked Shadow Weaver or Catra, so to each their own. But yeah, so it's just in case of one of those things that whenever you're a boy watching that, you go like, oh, this is like a woman version of this, but you still have the same iconic music. Fair enough, you
Yeah.
have like the transformation scene, which is a little bit different, but kind of the same kind of throwback and whatever. But you still have only three others know the secret and all that kind of stuff. So if you're a kid watching it and then you know about He-Man, it's just, and then whenever you get crossover characters, like if you have like He-Man or Skeletor or whatever, then you're going to watch it for that. It's like you're watching The Flash or Arrow, you're going to watch a certain episode because it has a character in it that you absolutely adore.
So one thing that always surprised me about this film, and I didn't know this until doing some research for this now, the budget for the film was $2 million US. The box office took an amazing $6.5 million. I mean, that was
Okay.
3 times. It made 3 times its budget.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
whenever
incredible,
you
isn't it?
whenever they basically have this as the first five episodes, and apparently from what I was reading, doing my research, was that they basically had to redo the score again because there were certain parts in it that weren't syncing up with certain, because they had to make it flow together. But with the likes of that, and also a little fact is that at the intro, Larry DiTillio's name is spelled wrong.
Is it?
Yep, instead of it being spelled Ditillio, it's spelled Dittillo.
Blimey. God, you really
Yep,
do know your facts, don't you? 'Cause I didn't know that.
he told me that. So he did.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah,
going to say, you
yeah.
didn't just sit there and like match it up.
No, although when I was watching it before us doing this, I did notice that. Then I was just like, oh yeah, he spelled his name wrong.
It's
Never
quite
mind.
clear once you know what you're looking for.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
So
So
let's talk
I
about the
have.
story.
Go
Carry
on.
on. No,
I know.
please.
I was just going to say that obviously with the likes of, so we will. I'll actually show you this here because this is the She-Ra box set, which actually has some nice art from the.
Beautiful artwork.
So there's like a scene there with He-Man and She-Ra. So obviously that'll actually have the first disc. Will have the first five episodes of that as well. So I don't think I always prefer to watch this because, like I'm sure you were the same way back whenever this first came out, VHS, you rented it out, and that was something that if my sister and I can agree on something, we always rented this, and I think this is why it's one of those things that as soon as I saw, oh, it's on DVD, let's pick that up.
I remember when it first came out to actually buy on VHS, I got my copy in Woolies when that was still around. You remember Woolworths? Yeah,
Woolworths,
it
who
was
can't
in
forget
there.
Woolworths?
We go, pick and mix. Got my copy of Secret of the Sword, got my pick and mix, went home and made my father sit on the sofa and watch He-Man with me. And we sat there for 90 odd minutes, or whatever it was, watching it on VHS, being just mesmerized for that 90 minutes because you were hooked. You were so into the story and the characters of He-Man and Orko, and not even seeing all of those characters and introducing these new ones. It was so well done, and it just, you got hooked for it, and you can see why they made it the pilot for She-Ra and why it was the first 5 episodes. It similarly, I think it lost its appeal when they did the Christmas special. That was just a bad story.
I always think that the Christmas special, I watch that every year regardless. It's like a tradition of mine that I have, like certain films that I watch that we all do. But I always think that it's going to be longer than what it is.
Yeah.
It's about an hour long, less than an hour. But I always am ready for like an hour and a half of torture. And there's like, oh, it's finished. Oh, that's even better. So
Yeah,
obviously
thank God.
sadly, we don't see Orko in this, but then we make up for that in the Christmas special where he kind of is the reason why we have the two little annoying kids in it.
Kind of glad we don't see Orko in this. Orko was all right in small doses, but an entire feature film of Orko.
Yeah.
No, no.
Well,
I mean, the other thing that this had, which was kind of unprecedented at the time, was a video for the song, the Sword of Power, I think it was called.
yeah.
Um, and we're playing that now on the live stream. Now that, so I've heard. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Was not the cast singing the song. That's right, isn't it?
From what I know of, yeah. Yeah, I don't I I know that there was like a remake stuff of that some fans had done with that, but I'm pretty sure that Erica Scheimer was the one who kind of got behind this and kind of was instrumental on in making this happen from what I remember anyway. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that she was the one who kind of made sure that this happened to do with this.
I don't know what it is. It just looks so corny. We're kind of watching the video now. Obviously, we've got no
But it's
audio
the
playing
80s.
because
It's the 80s,
it is
and
80s.
the 80s has so many cheesy power ballads, like, and this is no exception, so
Well,
and we have like a scene there from, from not from Secret of the Sword, so I think it's just put in like other little bits, but yeah, it's just one of those things that, like there's Orko, and why is he here? But yeah, it's just one of those things that you watch it once. It's like the Star Wars Christmas special. You watch it once and then you don't want to watch it again.
I'll tell you what. Let's do some punishment. We're going to put the audio on for just a second to listen to some of the
Oh
song
no.
from "I Have the Power." Here we go.
I'm tearing up listening to that now. That's not good. Obviously, we have this music as well as the intro to Secret of the Sword. This is the music that we actually hear while we have the opening credits instead of
Oh,
a He-Man and She-Ra one,
it's
which
so bad, isn't it? It is just so
it's
bad.
so bad, but it's almost so good. Let's hashtag
It's
number one.
yeah, it's so bad, but yet you can't help but like it. It's one of those things. It's like having something you don't like, isn't it? Eating something that you like, eating chilies if you can't take hot food.
Yep.
You know it's bad, but yet you want to keep on doing it because it's nice. Let's listen to a bit more because it is just how.
Guitar solo now.
All right, I picked it at the wrong point then because guitar solo is actually quite good. And there's Shira doing telepathy to just a minute. Brings back, so I'm looking forward to the point where I can sit my daughter down and say, "You're going to watch Shira." She will
I
hate it.
did that. I did that with my niece, and I think she kind of liked it. She was a bigger fan of Danger Mouse than she was of She-Ra. So
Danger Mouse. Danger Mouse is always good. See, this gets me. We got the hug. It looked like on the music video, like they were going to make out. There was a
yeah, but
scene at the beginning of the video where it
just
looked like He-Man and She-Ra were going to make out.
stop it, stop it. They're brother and sister. Just
I know, but it's the way
I
the
know,
video was done.
but that's the way your dirty mind is working. It's
Well, yeah,
innocence. Just leave it alone.
yeah. See, this is why these videos are not made for kids. That doesn't look like She-Ra at all, does it?
No, it looks like He-Man, okay, but it doesn't look like. See, produced by
It
Erica
looked like,
Scheimer.
yeah.
There we go.
Thanks to the many talented artists, craftspeople, and technicians whose patience, love, and care made this possible. So it was performed by Erica Scheimer. Oh, it was performed by Erica Scheimer.
There we go. And
I never realized that. And
it's done by Shuki Levy and I can't remember the other
I'm
guy's
Saban.
name. Yep, it was done by him because so his name is the credits there as well as Erica Scheimer. So yeah, I was right
You know,
then. So
which is Saban known for the Power Rangers amongst many, many, many things. So
yeah,
we got him to thank for that. What do you know? What's happened to Erica Scheimer now? Because obviously Filmation closed in the late '80s. We know that Lou Schema unfortunately passed away middle of the 2000s, I believe it was. But Erica seemed to just disappear from
I
public eye.
I think she still does. There's a He-Man convention over in America called PowerCon, which He-Man.org and the likes of Val Staples and stuff basically organize. But I think she's a part of that, like she attends that. Obviously, they got like voice casts, and there was one that was basically a He-Man with Thundercats one, but then they just changed it back to He-Man then. So obviously, like last year's or whenever they were, yeah, it would have been last year or something, was whenever Kevin Smith then announced the Master Universe Revelations. So I think she still does bits and pieces for the He-Man community, but I think it's very, it's nowhere near as big as what it was with the likes of, her father Lou being in charge of it, and there is so many, the likes of the Region 1 box sets. I'm not sure about the Region 2 ones, but they do have amazing documentaries on them, and, features Lou, Erica, and Lou's wife in it quite a lot as well. So those documentaries are just amazing to watch, and it's just something that sometimes I'll be like, I'm in a real He-Man, maybe let's put on the documentaries and learn a bit more about them. I'm a big fan of documentaries, and those ones are just outstanding.
But when it's something that is so close to you anyway, you can't help but sit back and enjoy it. I mean,
Yep.
the recent documentary that came out, The Power of Grayskull, was just incredible.
Yeah. And then we've got a new one coming out next year, which is called Faking Filmation, which is to do with James Eatock, who had made the Return of Faker cartoon, basically like using He-Man animation, and he was going to show this at PowerCon, and then basically got a cease and desist from, I can't remember who it was from, but the people who own the He-Man property. So this Kickstarter, which they were looking to raise $30,000, and I think they went way over $100,000. And it's done by the
Wow.
same Bill Rob McCallum, who the likes of the He-Man documentary, the Turtle Power one, which is fantastic. And yeah, it's just something that whenever that comes out, that'll be the only way that you can see the Return of Faker, which James is actually adding another 9 minutes of footage to it to make it a 40-minute episode, which is going to be brilliant.
Jeez. It's incredible. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. I've loved talking to you about all things He-Man. We talked more about He-Man than we have Secret of the Sword, but I think it's one of those things that if you haven't seen it, you need to somehow get a copy of it and watch it, because
Of Secret of
you
the
can't.
Sword.
Yeah, or even He-Man.
I will also give you the link to the Secret of the Sword, which is on the He-Man official YouTube channel, so you can watch it there in all its glory as well. So that's the easiest way for you to watch it. If you just want to watch it after listening to this episode, that is the best way to watch it.
You really should, because it's a staple of all our childhoods. If you were born in the 80s or the late 70s in Chris's case, then it's sorry, I had to get that in. Then it's a staple of our childhood, watching He-Man and She-Ra. And what better way to get you in the mood for July 26th for Revelation than to go back and watch some of the classic He-Man and the
Yeah.
Master of the Universe episodes? I can't wait. Do we know how long Revelations is going to be? Is it 25, 30 minutes?
I would imagine so, yeah. With it being 5 episodes, I would imagine this is going to be a 5 episode and then another 5 episodes thereafter.
It is, yeah.
But I would imagine that it would probably be around 25 minutes, give or take.
and,
So
and and no ad breaks, no nothing. Going to be in full HD.
no,
I mean, this is everything we have wanted as Masters fans since we were growing up.
and
Is
plus the
this
fact,
new?
well, unlike Disney Plus, we're going to probably get it all on day one. So whether we all binge it on the first day or whether we just try and spread it out, I know I'm probably just going to binge it and then just watch it again. So,
Do you know
um,
what? I'm debating doing a live watch along.
okay.
I'm actually debating putting it on and doing the first episode and watching it live, and then doing live reactions to it as on YouTube. So welcome to join me.
I might do. I might watch it myself first of all, and then try and
Yeah.
pick up little bits of it and go, "This is very similar to this episode." Blah 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 blah.
How
But
many Easter eggs is there going to be?
well,
There's
even
going
the
to be.
2000, even the 2002 one had so many Easter eggs. Whenever I think there was an episode Turnabout, I think it was, wherever Skeletor gets a damn brave disappearance, which was the first episode that we saw was the brave disappearance. So little things like that and little characters that you would see from like a certain episode. And,
Yeah.
oh, that's from such and such. But it's the same as everything now. You always look for those kind of little Easter eggs, and you really want to see that. But yeah, it's just with the Secret of the Sword, even just having so many characters in it, and then going from flipping from Etheria to Eternia, and then having the transformation of both She-Ra and He-Man together, which just is one of my favorite moments of that film. It's just incredible.
Yeah, the way they mix it both is just brilliant.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
for the Adora storyline, to see where she went from being under the power of Shadow Weaver and Hordak through to the awakening, if you will, from He-Man telling her to go out and just look at it. Didn't take much convincing though, did it? Really? It's one thing that always
no,
reminded me about that.
no.
Just when
Maybe it
was the
must have
last
been a
time?
brother sister connection. Maybe,
Yeah, but
you know.
I watched it. I watched Secret before we recorded, and it was when was the last time you went and looked at what the Horde were doing? I never have. Go. Okay. Got on a
Well,
horse and went off. I mean,
maybe she had nothing else to do that day. Maybe she was just at a
maybe,
loose end and thought, "Oh, I'll pop into town here and see." And we're like,
maybe.
"Oh, he was bound to Texas, so the Horde are blowing up his house." And it's like, "Oh no!"
I don't
Or
know,
somebody asked for
but it
water,
was.
and then, you know.
You can sit there, and I don't. What I do not want to do is sit there and pick holes in the storyline or anything like that because
Oh
it takes
no!
away the fun of it. But
Yeah,
that was the one thing that always got me. How quick and how much persuasion did it take for She-Ra for Adora to suddenly go, no, I'm going to listen to what this stranger from another world says, who seems to
yeah.
know me, and I've got a lovely little sword with a jewel in it.
Hmm.
Don't worry about the fact it's flashing at me and it's kind of drawing me to it. I really should give that away, but no, I'll keep it close to me.
It's the best thing to do, you know.
And I won't get
Finders
freaked out by
keepers.
this woman saying, Adora,
Yeah.
Adora.
Well,
Anyway,
it's a mobile phone before mobile phones were invented. There you go.
it's on speaker dial without actually
Yeah,
realizing it.
exactly. Yeah. Hmm.
There you go.
Teleportation as well. I mean, I would love that. And it's sword to lasso, sword to shield, and then you can just do everything like that with a sword. So that's
It's an
exciting.
Ethereal version of Wonder Woman,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah,
pretty much. She could do anything
yeah.
she wanted. Chris, it has been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you and talk all things He-Man, Masters, Retro, for the last, 45 minutes now.
Yeah.
Um, You have got your own YouTube channel, as we've talked about. How do guys get in contact with you on YouTube and on social media if they want to follow you and what you're up to?
Yeah, so I basically upload videos every Wednesday. So the next video that'll go up will actually be to do with the Toys of He-Man book that I got, what Pixel Dan actually did. So I kind of unbox that and kind of show you the inside of it, my first impressions of it. So yeah, Vento's Vault on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. My accounts are private on Instagram because everyone hates getting these. Oh, hi, I'm in your local area. It's like, nope. So yeah, just send me a friend request and said you even watched me or listened on Retro Chat, and I will accept. And yeah, so we've just surpassed the 50 subscribers. So the giveaway will be closed probably the Thursday. So yeah, so there will be some retro prizes given away there as well. So yes, thank you for inviting me on, Andy. I don't think we really talked that much about Secret of the Sword. But that just happens whenever you're passionate about a product. You can just talk about so much different stuff. And if you do ever need a hand with anything else, I'll be happy to bounce on and help you if you are stuck for
I
anything.
will always take you up on that. Always. We got episodes coming. The menu that we have for Retro Chat is immense. We're talking Red Dwarf that we did yesterday, which we'll touch on in a second. Haven't forgotten that. We did Red Dwarf Back to Reality yesterday. We've obviously got A Secret of the Sword. We got Knight Rider to cover. We got Team Knight Rider. We got the Turtles. We got the Centurions. We got the Visionaries. We got the Thundercats. That's just the cartoon side. On the TV side, we've got Caroline in the City. We've got the New Adventures of Old Christine, the King of Queens, the Professionals, CI5, the New Professionals, Wonder Woman, the Hulk, the A-Team, you name it. We're going to be covering it right here on Retro Chat. And I would love to have you on as often as you would like to come on. It's
Anytime you need me, just send me a message and we'll sort something out.
amazing. That would be fantastic. Now, we talked about Red Dwarf because the last episode we did, we welcomed the Red Dwarf superfan, Shane Paul, onto the show. We talked about Back to Reality. And Shane dropped a bombshell, which I couldn't believe, actually, that he's never watched an episode of He-Man.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that because your hand kind of just went like that on the table. and he kind of just laughed. So you said then that you were going to set me a challenge to give him a couple of episodes to watch. So I have 2 episodes for him to watch. I'll do it this hand instead. So I've given him Double-Edged Sword and Problem with Power. I do have a third one, but I can't remember what it was. I will also give Andy the links to that. So if you want to check that out, Shane, I'm talking to you. The links will be in the description below, and then you can just click on them again on the He-Man official channel, and you can watch them. I think though that the 2002 one, if you wanted to watch the beginning, the first 3 parts, I think that might be more in his wheelhouse than the 80s one. But if he likes the 80s one, then he should go for that one, because that's just outstanding stuff.
The 2002 one is the advanced. That's what you need to do, the foundation level.
Yeah, yeah.
Before you get to the advanced, I mean, you got to do foundation, intermediate, the new adventures, and then the advanced level.
No,
really?
No, don't worry about new adventures. If you get that meal, then you're
right.
fine. You'll not starve.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm setting you a challenge.
Okay.
I would like to bring you back to talk about the first 3 episodes of New Adventures.
No, I'm more than happy to do the first 3 episodes of the 2002 show, because I appreciate that more than I do the New Adventures.
Okay, why don't we do? I will let you off. I will cover New Adventures.
Okay.
On my own. Why don't we do the first 3 episodes of the 2002 reboot?
Okay, that's fine with me.
Let's get that in before Kevin Smith releases Revelations.
That's fine with me. No problems at all.
Amazing. I need to watch it now. Brilliant. So that's my challenge, is to watch the 3. You don't need the challenge. It's my challenge to watch the 3. Chris, it has been absolutely amazing speaking to you for it's now an hour. Hopefully everybody's enjoyed it. Like you said, when you speak about something you're passionate about, it just kind of takes away with you. And it's been just really fun bouncing back and forth with an old friend who I haven't seen or spoken to in a long time. And I don't think we've ever actually done a podcast together either.
We did on RetroShock, but then do you not remember that the recording got distorted of it?
We did an episode watch along. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we were meant to do it was like 4 men in the RetroShock, but then I think scheduling conflicts kind of that didn't happen, because
just didn't happen.
2 people, 4 people, but that Ministry of Slam RetroShock crossover, that was really annoying, because I even did like a really good Chronicles episode, and the recording of that got distorted, and there's like, friggin' technology, you're wonderful whenever you work.
Yeah, I remember that, because, oh God, yeah, that was a nightmare. That was an absolute nightmare. Well, now we've done it. Now we've done a podcast together. 13 years since we first met. There we go.
Yeah.
Sorted. Right. Let's give the contact details one more time before we wrap up. If you would like to keep abreast of all of the latest news, episodes, archives, videos that we don't put up on general release, you can go to the website, which is retrochat.co.uk. And hopefully, if Chris is happy to send me some footage, some Master of the Universe Chronicles might go in the bonus shows as well. Who knows? I'm not putting you on the spot there. If you want to join the socials, you can do Facebook, Instagram, and Discord, as well as Twitch is a Retro Chat podcast. And you can email studio@retrochat.co.uk. We do have a Twitter. That Twitter is very simple to remember. It's Retro Chat. Retro Chat EA1. There we go. That is our Twitter account. Don't know why it's done that, but it has. So that's our Twitter account. Keep in touch with us. Keep up to date on what's happening. We're also on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Pandora, Overcast, pretty much anyone you can think of on the standard MP3 format. YouTube and Twitch, we're going to be releasing videos on a weekly basis, chronicling the misadventures of a very bad video gamer. And we're also going to be doing these episodes as well. So all that's left for me to say to Chris, thank you very much. I have the power, and I'll see you all very soon. Take care.
Until next time.